Hello, and happy Taco Tuesday. I'm so happy that you're here. If you've never joined us for one of our lives, then welcome. Hello, I am Crystal Profit, and I teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. And we have some really fun things going on today. So I am excited to see where everybody's watching from. If you're watching on the replay, tell us. I love to know. I love to see where everyone in our audience is from, especially because we have a global audience. And there's just something so special about that. Like, especially as a podcaster, I look at statistics. Like, this is so true. If you can go into your Buzzsprout account, right? If you're a Buzzsprout user, go into your location stats from time to time, especially whenever I'm having days where I'm like, is what I do, like, does it really matter to other people? And if I go into my stats and I look at the locations and I can see that people listen to my podcast from around the world, I mean, it's just so encouraging. It's so stinking encouraging. And I know that there's other, platforms like if it's Instagram or YouTube that you can go and like kind of dig into the information, into the numbers and see where people are watching from or following you from. But there's just, I don't know, there's something really special. And I love seeing where everybody is in our global audience. But today we are talking about, I wanted to start kind of like the top of the hour, which we're probably not gonna be here for an hour, but if you do have questions, make sure you put them in the comments. I always encourage people to write a Q in the front because we'll have definitely some time for some Q&A at the end. But so put your podcast questions in the chat. But I really wanted to talk about today's podcast episode of the Profit Podcast. Let me pop this up here. I always like seeing it. So, I got it right. I knew where to point this time. So today there is an episode of the Profit Podcast that's all about self-sponsored podcast ads. It's kind of funny, and I'm going to give away the very beginning because, right, y'all are going to go listen to it. It's not a long episode. There's episodes that are over an hour long. There's episodes that are 30 minutes. This one's like 16 or 17 minutes. So you can go watch it as soon as listen to it as soon as we're done here today. But it was one where I started by saying, I don't remember where the term self-sponsored ads comes from. So I did this big, I apologize if it's something like, did I make this up or did I hear it somewhere? Because it's just what I started calling all the different self-sponsored ads that I have on my podcast. And there's so many different ways that you can create self-sponsored ads. And I'm going to tell you about a way that how you can learn how to do them all here in a second. But I wanted to share with you the show notes for today's episode because I actually I dug through all of our previous episodes that we have about podcast ads, what they are, how to create them. And I actually threw in a few episodes that have to do with getting actual sponsors. That way you can understand how podcast advertising actually works. It's the thing that I get questions about the most. It's like, well, how does monetization work? And how do you get a brand deal? Or how do you do this? And I didn't know the answer to any of those questions until I started asking those questions. And I started asking people that are way smarter than me in the podcast advertising space. And I linked to a specific interview that I did with someone who, they run a podcast ad network. And I just had all the questions and I knew that y'all had the questions. So I linked to all those in the show notes for today's podcast. So make sure you go check them out. crystalprofit.com/episode 295 is where you're going to find all the previous episodes that we've done about self-sponsored podcast ads. Hi, Diane. So happy to see you. So glad that you're here today. But yeah, so if you go to the show notes, you'll see this. I love, it's just right here. It's plain as day. I love talking about self-sponsored ads because they've made a really big impact on my business. in what I do. Like, if you listen to my show, you know that I routinely, like on the regular, am talking about things that I love, my own products, my own books, my own things that I have coming up. I'm talking about affiliate programs. I'm talking about things that I want you to know about as someone who is in this space, right? If you're in the podcasting space or you want to be in the podcasting space, there's a good chance that the products, the services, the things that really make my life easier on the back end of my show, I want to share those with you. My software, my tools, the things that just make my world go round, I want to share those with you. And there's a good chance that the tools and the things that you use in your business have affiliate programs, or maybe you have an opportunity to do some sort of collaboration. Well, that's an opportunity for you to talk about them on your podcast and hopefully get paid for those things. Or maybe you just want to endorse something that you love because maybe one day you hope that they'll see it and, reciprocate. I don't know. There's lots of different reasons to endorse something on your podcast, but I love the idea of self-sponsored, which simply means that you are talking about your own products, services, coaching services, coaching programs. Like, there's just so many different ways that you can approach it, which is why I wanted to do kind of this revisited episode to where we could have all of these resources in one place. So when you scroll down to the bottom of this page, you'll see podcast ads, resources, and here are some of the conversations that we've had. So when you go to crystalprofit.com/295, you'll see all of these linked here. But I see we have some questions and comments about podcast ads. So hi, Monique. So happy that you're here joining us today. And then Diane says, good timing. I'll be doing this on my own show. I'm recording it today. Awesome. So Diane, let me know in the comments if you're using dynamic content, or is this something that you're going to be recording and maybe inserting into like the middle of an episode? Tell me in the comments, because I would love to know, and I'd love to answer any questions that you have. I wanted to do several different ones so I don't have people rolling their eyes saying, oh, this again. Oh, this is really, really good point. Okay, so it's not dynamic, Diane says. So it's not a dynamic piece of content. So for anybody that doesn't know, because you're like, wait, I'm new to this, I don't know what dynamic content is. Totally fine. So dynamic content is a piece of content, an audio file that you would upload into Buzzsprout. If you're a Buzzsprout user, this is on everybody's account. You have access to this, which just makes me love them even more, because there's other hosts that you got to pay hundreds of dollars to have this feature. But you would go in and you have your regular file, right? Like today's episode would be its own audio file that I put into Buzzsprout. But then I could also go and add an audio file at the very beginning. There's actually one up right now, which is all about Podcasterskit, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I have a promotional piece at the very beginning that I've applied to every single one of my podcast episodes. Like with bonuses and everything, there's over 300 plus podcast episodes for the Profit Podcast. And this audio file, this important message that I wanted to get out to all of my audience, whether they're listening to today's episode or my very first one, I want them to hear this. And that is what a piece of dynamic content is. You can put it at the very beginning or at the very end. But let's go back to Diane's question. So she is doing one. She wants to do several different ones where it's not annoying to her audience. And I get this. I really, truly understand this, because I have had this experience as a listener where the host of a show just puts in the same promotional piece every single episode. And it's funny because now that I think about it, I don't hear it as often as I used to. I think people kind of caught on. They're like, oh, we're just annoying our listeners by saying the same thing every single time. Why don't we change it up and do something different? And I don't hear it as much, but I remember several years ago, there was one podcast in particular that had the same ad for probably 3 or 4 months. And I'd hear it coming and I'd be like, oh, like cringing because I loved the podcast. I thought the podcast was so good. But this one ad just annoyed me so much. So with Diane, she wants to create several different ones. So her listeners don't do that. Her listeners are like, oh, what's this? Like, this is something new, or maybe there's a different take on it. So, Diane, I want to give you some ideas on different ways that you can do some ads. The first one that I can think of is you can just announce what it is. Okay, so she said this is for your affiliate. Okay, so this is for an affiliate company. So it's not her own product or service, but she's endorsing it for someone else, which is awesome. I mean, I do this. I'm actually doing this with Podcasterskit. Like I said, I'm going to talk about it in a second. But so you could say what the program is or the product or the service. And then if you're like, okay, I did that for one episode. What do I want to say in the next one? Well, you could share a testimonial or you could share a specific feature about the product that you love. And then you could go on to do something else that highlights something different. So maybe it'll take a second to sit down. If you want to have multiple versions of the same promotion, I would recommend a feature highlight, testimonials, and then maybe a way that you use the product or service or whatever it is in a way that is kind of outside of its intended purposes. So here's a great example. I use Buzzsprout, right? They're my podcast host. If I wanted to do an affiliate self-sponsored ad, right? Because they're not paying me. They're not sponsoring my podcast. What I'm doing is I'm promoting my affiliate link. So I have an affiliate link for anybody that signs up with Buzzsprout. I make a small commission, and you need to disclose that. Like, time out real fast. Let's talk about that. If you are doing affiliate promotions, wherever people are actually clicking on that link, make sure you have some sort of, what is it? I actually have it right up here. Hang on. Let's go up here, right here. So it was actually right above what we were talking about. Here, let me just go full screen for a second so you can see this. This is my disclaimer on my website, and I have this anywhere that I have affiliate promotions, but it says, this podcast contains affiliate links. If you click a link on this page and make a purchase, I may make a small commission and no extra cost to you. So for anyone that's brand new to doing affiliates or you've never done them before, just know that you have to disclose that, you know, you're a partner or you have that. And if you add in the affiliate information into Buzzsprout, if you're doing this within Buzzsprout, they actually add that disclaimer for you, which is really cool. So you don't have to put it in every single one of your podcast episodes. But that's just a little side note, since Diane said that she was going to be doing it for an affiliate. So let me come down here. So actually, now thinking about it, I can do my own services as well, podcast management and my affiliate. How would I do that? Alternate them on episodes, mid-roll and pre-roll. Okay, this is a really, really good question. And I'm going to show you the back end of, let me see. I'm like clicking around all behind the scenes. I'm going to show you, there is a YouTube video that I recommend you go check out. It's the one where I did Asana and Google Sheets, because I have in there how I separate my dynamic content and what that looks like. So let me show you, where is it? October. Oh, it's right here. It's right in front of me. I was looking at the wrong thing here. Let me see. Yeah, I think all this is up to date. Yep. Okay, so I love it whenever I do share an individual window or screen, and I'm like, wait, this is not showing up. This is not working for me. Let me take this off. Okay, so I'm going to go full screen. I'm going to take your comment down, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So this is literally my Google Sheet. This is for Q3, which is what we just wrapped up. And right here, I have a column that tells you exactly what is happening during that promotional period. So let me see, how do I always forget? Always try to make it bigger. Whoa, 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 whoa. Might have went a little too big there. A little too big. Let's zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, that's a little much. Okay. So right here, I have all the dynamic content, and this is based on what I want to promote. And it depends on how many podcast episodes that you do on a regular basis. I think it's perfectly fine if you only do one episode a week. You could leave a piece of dynamic content up there for a month if you want to. Now, I know we're not talking about dynamic content, but I wanted to show you that if you're putting this in each individual episode, then I would recommend having something on a spreadsheet or your content calendar where you know what it is that you're promoting in each one. That way you can ask yourself, is that too much? Did I talk about that too much? Or, can I squeeze this into this one episode? Because if you're doing dynamic content, right? If someone were to miss several episodes or just stumble upon your podcast and they listen to multiple ones in a day, they're going to hear that same ad. But if you're not dynamically, but traditionally inserting an audio file, we call it baked in, right? You have baked in podcast content. That's a promotional piece. You still want to know how often you're talking about it, so you can kind of gauge like, well, did this work? Because for me, I do a lot of promotions that are cyclical, meaning they come around at least every year, maybe more than once a year. But I like to know when I do my debrief, when everything's all said and done, did this work? Did this podcast ad work? Did I get more results whenever I talked about it on a podcast episode? And then you can kind of gauge like, how effective is this? And there's a few more advanced ways to do this. And like I said, I'm going to talk to y'all about Podcasterskit in a second, because I'm doing a deep dive on this in my Podcasterskit training. So, but I want to make sure that I answered all your questions, Diane. So how long should a mid-roll be or a pre-roll? This is totally up to you. Like, it's preference. I would say the sweet spot is between 30 and 90 seconds. I would try to keep it under 90 seconds if you can. Again, it's just my preference. Whenever I'm listening to a podcast episode, I will sometimes hear 3 or 4. Like, this is actually, I listen to Smartless. I don't know how many people here listen to Smartless. I love comedians that host podcasts. It's so much fun for me. But that's one of my favorites. And they have had, instead of one really long mid-roll ad, they'll have 2 or 3 that are like back to back to back, but they're short. They're like 30 seconds or less. And those don't bother me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Sometimes I'll fast forward through them. Sometimes I'm doing the dishes and my hands are wet and I want to touch my phone. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to listening to these ads. These are just happening to me right now. But I think anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds is a good place. And then I have found, this is just my experience, when I record an ad, it's all based on how it flows out of me. Because even when I plan it, sometimes they end up longer than I thought they would be. And then other times they end up where it's like, oh my, it's only 30 seconds. I plan the whole thing out, like kind of get an idea of what I'm going to say, what I'm going to talk about. And then I'm like, man, I cannot make this any longer without it being either 30 seconds or 3 minutes. So deciding on how much do I want to share in there, but I always, okay, everybody listen to me right now. Stop what you're doing. If you are creating self-promotional ads, if you are talking about an actual URL and you're going to say it, make sure you say it more than once. And if you are doing dynamic content, you can add like a description link of like, hey, this is like what we talked about, what you heard about on the podcast, this is where it is. But if you're doing show notes, make sure that you have the link to what you were talking about, because for me as a listener, usually I'm not going to remember what the link was. And usually if someone says a really complicated link, I'm not going to go to it anyway. I'm not going to go listen to, or go try to hunt down a link somewhere. And it's really hard for people to say it or to talk about it, it's a no-go for me. So what I will do, and we're going to talk about Podcasterskit. I see Diane said, yeah, I already purchased Podcasterskit. It's jam-packed with some great stuff. I know. That's why I'm excited to talk about it. But I want to go back to this again real fast, because what I will do with the URLs, the example is the dynamic piece of content that I have on my podcast right now is something to the tune of like, hey, Podcasterskit is here. It only comes around once a year. You can learn more about it. crystalprofit.com/PK 2021. And I'll say it just fully through. And then the next time I like to spell it or sound it out in a way that people know, well, how would you spell that? Which with PK, that's a little bit easier. But I would say crystalprofit.com/PK 2021. And I like it when other podcasters do this as well, because I feel like it's just easier to not misinterpret things, because I'm not the best speller. And sometimes I'm like, wait, did they say this word or that word? How would you spell that if it's someone's name or if it's something else? I like it when people spell things out. So that's just a tip for me. I mean, it's not going to be the same for everybody, but that's just something that I like to add to any of my self-sponsored ads or anything that whenever I'm doing a promotion of what that could look like. So I've teased Podcasterskit. If you listen to the episode today, I teased it in there as well, but I want to talk about what Podcasterskit actually is. So let me get it up here for you, because it's so good. It's so good. And I love it when this comes around every single year. So turn this off. Podcasterskit 2021. So you can go to crystalprofit.com. I am an affiliate for Podcasterskit. crystalprofit.com/PK 2021. The reason why I love Podcasterskit is because it is so affordable. It is very helpful for any podcaster. Like, you don't have to be just a beginner. You don't have to be more advanced. It is so helpful. There's such a variety of products, but it is really awesome to get introduced to other podcasting experts. Now, I'm going to say, I hope that you hang around with me and, you get to learn from me and you are someone that is a permanent fixture in our community here. But also, I'm okay. I don't have to be stingy with my audience. I love sharing new people that know about things that I have no clue about. So I want to share a little bit about Podcasterskit. So Podcasterskit is only here until October 9th, which still, is it anybody else? Like, does it feel weird to say October? I still feel like I'm saying September. I almost said August the other day. Apparently I am just messed up right now. I even ponied up the extra $27 for next year. Yeah, it's a huge grab bag of everything. And honestly, I love that they make it so affordable, because there's just stuff in here that you just don't see in other places. So you can go to the link and you'll see everything. Go learn more about it. Learn about Dan and Rachel. They're fantastic. I actually met Dan in person at Podcast Movement. I was going to say Podcasterskit. I met him at Podcast Movement in person this year, and it was really fun. We kind of had a quick chat about what I was going to contribute to this year's stack of just awesome products. And he kind of influenced what I was going to create, because I create something new every single year. I don't like to repeat stuff, and you can kind of see the different things. So there's email templates. I know a lot of people that struggle with, writing emails. There's a podcast planner. There is where I'm looking for mine, not selling your own products, but that's kind of, it's a little bit about selling your own products. But what I want to show you, so what's in Podcasterskit 2021? So podcasting is all about more than your voice. And it really dives into, where was it? There was another one that talks about really good storytelling. Podcast Boost. Oh, here it is. How to tell your story with a podcast. This is what I was looking for. Build and monetize your personal brand fast with your podcast. Then there's me. I'm the fourth one down on the page. But this is the one I'm really excited about. So if you're on my email list, you already heard about it, because I am doing, and I talked about on today's episode, I talk about self-sponsored ads, but I've never done a deep dive training, and I'm really excited about it because some of the things I was just telling Diane about, like I have so many ideas and things that I've tested when it comes to dynamic content, ad insertion, whether it's mid-roll, pre-roll, post-roll. I'm going through all the things that you need to know about creating your own ads for your podcast and what that can look like. And so I want people to walk away with the confidence of, I can do this. This is easy. This is not complicated. And this is something that I can do from the very beginning. This is where like I just get really frustrated. This part right here. You don't need thousands of listeners or millions of downloads to make money with a podcast. People are very much under the impression that they have to have a huge following and just like a skyrocket of numbers in order to start making money. But the truth is you don't. You don't. I'm like living proof of that. I mean, my podcast doesn't have millions of downloads, yet I'm still able to make a decent amount of money on the things that I promote on my podcast. So this is what we're going to be talking about. There are about 3 or 4 live trainings all on the same day. Oh no, that's not good. I didn't know that. Well, there's going to be a replay. This is the good thing. I can't speak for everybody's. I'm assuming that there's going to be a replay for all of them, but yes, there's going to be a replay if you cannot make it live. It's going to happen on October 21st, which I believe is a Thursday. So Thursday, October 21st at 10 a.m. is when I'm doing my training. And yeah, so it's going to be so much fun. But let's go down. So a virtual summit starter guide. That's really cool. I think that virtual summits, I mean, how many of you, tell me in the comments, how many of you attended a virtual summit in the last 18 months? If I had like 4 more hands, put them up, right? I have attended so many virtual summits, virtual events, and I love that they're putting together, like there's a product in here. And so just to clarify, when you purchase Podcasterskit, it's $47 for all of these products. Not just my product, not just Krista's product here, for all of these, which is really, really fun. Yeah, Diane says so many, not just a few, so many virtual summits, virtual events. Yeah, Crystal too. She's like, I have. Yes, so many virtual events. So if you're thinking about how can a virtual summit work into my podcast, how can I use it for me, then that is a great product that you'll see. Let's come down here. High converting podcast show notes. Y'all, people are always asking me about show notes. So this is another great one to have. YouTube for Podcasters, Pete McPherson. I actually met Pete at Podcast Movement, and he's so fun. I highly recommend going and checking out his YouTube channel because he is someone, he was so fun. Like his personality, I'm like, I could listen to you talk for hours and hours. So if you want to know how to get in the game on YouTube for podcasters, this is your chance to learn more about it. I'm excited. I'm actually going to go grab this product too. How to talk, serve, and put money in the bank with Dan Miller. And then podcast guest release form. It's a legal template. I get asked all the time about release forms whenever it comes to like, do I need to have, a release form? Am I going to get sued? And just, I've gotten a lot of legal questions, which is funny because our guest on Thursday on the Profit Podcast is someone like we kind of touch on legal issues when it comes to your show, but this is stuff that comes up all the time. So this is a great product to have as well. Independent contract agreement, freelance contract. So if you're hiring people to help work on your podcast, whether it's, hiring a virtual assistant, web designer, graphic designer, social media manager, copywriter, for like all of these, this is a great product. I've already got Podcasterskit. Like I'm ready to dive into these too. Like it's not just me telling you about this, like, oh, I'm trying to sell something. It's no, actually, I'm really excited to dive into these as well because I think that they go above and beyond. Dan and Rachel, the co-founders of Podcasterskit, they go above and beyond to find people that know their stuff and can offer value to this audience. So very, very good. Yeah. I need a good contract template for podcast co-hosts. Yeah. That's another good reason. So yeah, grab this template now, Get your legal protection sorted in less than 5 minutes. I mean, if that's not if that's not great marketing right there, I don't even know what is. Like that's awesome. So, how to leverage podcasting to travel the world? That sounds fun, right? I can't wait to travel again. That sounds amazing. Podcast to paycheck. Again, learning more about making money with a podcast. Let's see, podcast monetization workshop. Here's another one all about get ready to dive into over 7 hours of amazing podcast monetization tips. That is really cool. Podcast planner. I think that this is really fun, especially, I don't know, tell me in the comments, is anybody here, are y'all a paper planner or are you all digital? I'd love to know. I'm a mixture of both. So I'll tell you, I have mine right here. Mine is never very far away. I'll just tell you that. Mine is never very far away. So I have one. Let me show you on a blank one. So this is my planner that I got on Amazon. Oh, wait, hang on. Yeah, that's the right thing. So it'll show you. This is not good. You're failing at this terribly, Crystal. So it'll say like, here's my goals, my top priorities, and the notes. These, you can't hardly see them, but they have bullets. It's like the little bullet journal stuff. So I could do that. But what I love about this was like $20 on Amazon. I know, I want you to go get this podcast planner, but I just want to tell you about this one because it's my favorite and I've used a lot of planners. It's 6 months at a time. So it's not a full year, but it comes undated. But this is what I love. I could start over here at like 1 a.m, which I don't, but I could go all the way to midnight. This is how I time block. This is what helps me get results. Okay. I'm not even kidding. Like, I want to show you, hang on. Where's my other one? I just finished one. Hang on 1 second. Stand by. Okay. This is my blue one. So I had a blue one. I was like, no, I need to get a different one. So you can see I kind of time block my different things that I have to do for the day. And then I'll put, I don't always put in, I can't do this, y'all. Vanna White would be so disappointed in me. I'm not ready for QVC, right? This over here, I don't always put in my goals for the day because I'll usually do them over here if I have something big. But there was one that I just saw. I will typically do a lot of brainstorming. Like, here's some other ones that I have. But I will do, I'm trying to find one where it's like, oh my gosh, Crystal, you did way too much. Oh, there. I'll do like brainstorming of like what I need to talk about. And sometimes I'll do this for podcast episodes as well. So that's just me. That's just me showing you my behind the scenes of my planner. But what you could do is you could take this planner and kind of like tweak it to make it your own and customize it, which I always love. Oh, so you can print the PDF version for yourself. Yeah, that's awesome. Podcasting 101 on how to get started. Let me see. Podcasting mastermind triads. Triads? How do you say that? Is it triads or triads? I don't know. I shouldn't even try. So it's 3 virtual sessions. I cannot talk, y'all. There's something in the air today. 3 virtual sessions to address common mindset issues. Ooh, this is a really good one. And I don't know if it's triad or triad. Triad sounds like it's the right one, but I could be totally wrong. Podcasting, promotional materials, template bundle. Yeah, see, like some of these, it says it's $197 value. I know the one that I'm teaching would be at least $97 if I was teaching it somewhere else, which I've never taught the deep dive into self-sponsored ads class anywhere else. It's like not in my course. It's not in another product I've ever created. It's actually could show up as a future bonus in another program that I'm working on. I'm creating. It's very hush hush, and I haven't told like many people about it, but I'm excited to offer it in this program. So this one has podcast interview promo page template, and then use this to promote your episodes. So a lot of email swipe files. Y'all, I just know that so many people love a good email swipe file. I do too. So what these are, if you're not familiar with what a swipe template is, it's literally the either placeholder of the information you need to put in there, like, insert someone's name, insert story about this. I love these, not to copy and paste exactly what's in there, but I like to use them as a template or a guide for me to write my own emails, because it just kind of, there's something that happens. It's like a spark of inspiration that I go through whenever I see someone's email templates or swipe files. So those are always really helpful. Using AI shortcuts to create show notes. Now, this is really interesting because I've seen a lot of different AI technologies that are coming on. I use Otter AI. It's the main one that I use for my show notes, but I'm curious to see what other ones that they use. That sounds really interesting. Anything to automate or make things easier, I'm all about it. All about it. Mastering podcast equalization. Ooh, this is a good one. For people that don't know, if you're brand new to me, I am not a technical podcaster. I don't do a lot of the behind the scenes as far as the equalization and compression and all those like really higher tech things, because I try to record in the best environment possible, and then I rely on my magic mastering. I said that weird. Magic mastering that I have with Buzzsprout to kind of have a better quality audio piece. And that's really what I do. So I think that this is cool to learn more about equalization. And Amber says she's a paper person. She likes a paper planner. Yeah, I do both. So I have my paper planner, and then I have my Google Calendar, which holds all the important dates and deadlines. And then on here, it's more of like my daily to-do list and like my time blocker. Because I've tried to put everything digital before, where I like time block, I need, like an hour here to plan stuff and an hour here for this and then lunch and all the things. But I just don't like, I like more white space. I like to look at a nice clean calendar with just the most important things. And then I like for this to be messy. I don't know why. I like the written stuff. It's okay for that to be messy. I don't like my digital stuff to be messy. I don't know. Maybe there's something in there. Maybe there's something about that. I have no idea. Guest management tech stack. Oh, Chelsea Clark. She is someone I was like, why do I know this name? She was on the Profit Podcast. So she is fantastic when it comes to all the things when it comes to show notes and the different things that you do on your website. So this is one, I didn't know that she did this. So I'm absolutely going to go check this out. Y'all, there's so many good things in here. So the 7-day podcast launch challenge. There we go. How to get your podcast out into the world. Stop struggling, start podcasting. That's a great tagline. Stop struggling, start podcasting. Oh, this is so good, y'all. I'm like fired up. Podcasting from both sides of the mic. Ooh, this is good. It's a necessity for both podcasters and guests. So if you're planning to guest on other shows, here's another great product for you. Savvy Podcast Agency's Savvy Pod Squad membership. So see, all these products are so different because now they have memberships. A lot of these have been like, it's a download PDF. It is like the different tech stacks. Maybe they're doing a video. Maybe they're doing like me. Like I have a live training that will eventually become a replay video. It'll be a product that lives on my website as a replay page. But I love that this is a membership. Very, very cool way. Learn exactly how to sell more high ticket offers and grow an audience of engaged buyers. Podcast sales machine blueprint. That's awesome. Grow your podcast. The $1 million model. Y'all, these are really cool. Video production made simple. People always ask me about video stuff. So this is really, really good. Ignite your listeners with engagement first podcasting. So making sure your people are excited about what you're talking about. Podcast pitching with the media one sheet. Brittany, my girl Brittany. Okay, yay. I'm excited. Y'all, I love Brittany. Brittany is I love her so much because she sings praises for Profit Podcasting. She was one of my very first students. Like she was in, I think, the second cohort that ever went through Profit Podcasting. And she has a very successful podcast called Posed for Success because she is a photographer and brand strategist. So I love that she is talking about a one sheet because I bet her one sheets are gorgeous. Gorgeous. Her website is gorgeous. She talks, you should go listen to her podcast. I'm highly endorsing her podcast because she talks about how to not only take photographs and be in pictures that are really website friendly, but she also talks about what your images convey as far as, you know, how you can be more connected with your audience just through an image. So, I'm so excited. Y'all, I'm going to go dive into these whenever we get done. So, podcasts and SEO. I always get asked about SEO. It's why I talk about it a lot, especially with our content planning. If you haven't listened to, I did a recent episode about how I'm planning my content for Q4 of 2021. That one had a whole bunch of information about podcasts and SEO. So very good. Podcast business journal. Oh, how to crush your next podcast interview like a radio pro. Still can't talk today. Without decades of training. Podcast and PLR, grow your following, increase your income. Y'all, I could just keep, I'm just going to keep scrolling. I'm just going to keep scrolling real fast. Ultimate podcast templates, podcast influencer formula. I just want to get through all these. Facebook ads to grow your podcast audience consistently and reliably. Content replay. Oh my gosh. Like I'm like, ugh, can't talk anymore. But y'all see, there's so many awesome products. Podcasting for beginners. Oh my gosh. So many. So, I see you have a question. So Dana says, random question, how to be sure that the topic you want to talk about will be interesting for listeners? Oh, this is a great question. So no matter where your audience is, if you have your YouTube channel, if you have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, your email list, wherever they are, I love the idea of surveying your audience, the people that are already listening to you, right? And I say listening as in following you, seeing your post, already engaging with you. And if you're like, I don't have any of that, right? You're starting at literally ground zero and you're building something out, then I encourage you to pick a topic, start talking about it, and follow the numbers, okay? Follow the numbers. And by that, I mean, what are the episodes that perform better? What are the episodes that you get that bump in downloads? What are the episodes that you start getting DMs or, you know, people are saying, oh my gosh, like this episode was so good. I did a recent episode and on Instagram, whenever I posted it, several people commented. It was the one about podcast pitching mistakes from a host perspective. I posted the soundbite on Instagram and I immediately got responses that said, oh, I can't wait to listen to this, or, oh, I'm so glad to hear it from a host perspective. So I'm getting feedback constantly from my audience telling me this is needed. This is something that we want you to talk about. And so now I know going like into the future, when I go to create other pieces of content, I know that maybe that's something I should consider talking about. So those are a few things that hopefully help you. But Dana, if you have any other questions, let me know. So yeah, the topic you're talking about will be interesting for your listeners. Sometimes it's just putting it out there and seeing what happens. And I know that's not the best piece of advice. It's not really a way for you to go out with confidence, right? Sometimes you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Sometimes that's just the thing that we need to get out of our comfort zone and start podcasting. That way we can actually see, what do people want? Do they like this? Is this something they want us to talk about in the future? So great question. There's bonuses too. Free subscription to Podcast Journal as well as Podcast Magazine. Oh, Diane's telling me I got to go back down. She's like, you did not finish. So all of these products together, all these different ones. And whenever you purchase the product, you actually get information on how to access all of this. So thanks for pointing that out, Diane. Also, how about polling your audience on Facebook? Give some choices on topics and see which ones rate high. Yeah, this is another good one. And you can do it on Facebook. You can do it on Instagram. I know you can do polls on LinkedIn as well. And you could do a survey. This is something that I believe I did in the very beginning. I actually found a video the other day that made me cringe a little bit. Oh my gosh, y'all, hang on. I think I'm going to go find it. I'm going to go find it, like, because it's literally one of those things that I'm kind of a digital hoarder. I don't like to admit that, but I am. I'm a digital hoarder. I don't get rid of anything until I absolutely have to get rid of something. But I did one. Oh my gosh, y'all are totally going to crack up. It's an old one. I'm like, let me dig back in the archives. Let's go to last modified. It's probably going to say like at least 2 or 3 years ago. I don't even know. I am going to blow y'all's mind. Okay. Blow your mind because it's really funny. I put a video on it. Let me see if this is it. Oh no, that's not it. Oh my gosh. I really want to find this. I also don't want to take forever, but I really want to find this because it was really funny. Because I saw it the other day and I thought, oh my gosh, what was I even doing? What was I doing? Because this is not, no, this is not a good video. This is not a good way to do business, Crystal. What are you even doing? I can't find it. I cannot find it. Y'all, I'm the worst at actually, it wasn't customer feedback. I have all these different forms. I need someone to come in and organize my digital life. I need to do this at least once a month because I feel like it's something I should do on the regular, but I can't find it. So what I would do is create a simple Google form, and I can show you that. So if y'all have never created Google Forms, let me show you how it's done real fast. Because I like Google Forms because it's totally free, right? So you could create something that says, title of podcast. Oh, y'all are going to see how bad I can type. This is going to be fantastic. Put your podcast description. And then say something like, I'd love to know which podcast topics you're most interested in learning about. Please choose from the options below. And then you could go in and put, podcast topic 1, or I don't know. You could put whatever you want. Look, podcast topics to, I want it to be more than like podcast topics to choose from, but podcast topics, and then you could just do that. And then instead of multiple choice, you could do check boxes where people could check, okay, like podcast topic 1. And then I'm just going to go down just to make life easier. 2, 3, and then you could just keep going and then send this to your email list, right? If you have people that are on your email list, you could easily do that, or you could create a link to this if you've never done one of these before. This is what it would look like, and then you could say thanks for participating, something like that. But I see a question real fast. Diane says, can you put your branding? Yes, you can. So we are in here. I'm going to show you how I normally change my branding. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Y'all can tell I'm obsessed with making things bigger because I want you to be able to see it. But up here, you see where it says customize theme? When you're in your form, go in here and you can choose a header. I typically just use whatever they have. So you could just, I think there's one for, oh look, yeah, there's a podcast one. We could do that. And then if I wanted to change the colors, I could do that here too. This is like the theme that comes with this image. But you could put your own image right here if you had a custom one that you wanted to use. I actually don't like this one simply because it's really dark. I don't like dark pictures. I like bright and shiny ones, pretty ones. I've used this one before. I actually recently created one and used it. And I like the colors that are on here. So I could pick a theme color. Sure, that looks great. or I could create my own image in Canva and put it up here. The only thing about that is you don't really have a ton of control of how it's like scaled and sized. It's just going to default to it. And then this is what it would look like whenever it's done. So you could put your own logo up here or your own branding, but you just have to know the correct sizes of what this image would need to be whenever you upload it into Google Forms. But yeah, good question. You could do your own brand colors if you wanted to. So like mine, y'all are gonna think I'm a goofball, but I know all my hex codes for my colors because I've used them for so long. And then I could change the background color to be like kind of on theme with what I use. The font, I could have it decorative. Oh, I don't like that. You can't read it. Playful, formal, or just basic. So if I wanted to do that and I made the changes, then this is what it would look like. So yeah, good question. Good question. Does anybody have any other questions? Type a Q in the front. If you have any other questions, I can hang out for a few more minutes to answer. But yeah, y'all go check out Podcasterskit. It's going to be so much fun. Like I said, there's just, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And when you sign up, you automatically get 50% off of next year. Maybe it's 50% off. It's something like that. It's way cheaper than what it is for the normal price. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this year because I've never taught, I actually have this is what I'm teaching. So it's podcast ads, how to sell your own products on your podcast, a deep dive into self-sponsored ads. So if you want to know more about ads, like I said, if you listen to today's podcast episode, that's what we talked about, crystalprofit.com/episode 295. I know it's such a mouthful, but if you go listen to that episode, you'll learn more about why I'm so passionate about podcast ads. Yeah, it's fantastic. So it's $27 for next year. So right when you purchase, I think that you have the opportunity to go ahead and buy next year, which I'm going to be participating in. And I always create a brand new product every single year. Every single year. The first year I did it, I think it was 10 mistakes that I learned whenever I launched my podcast, which, oh my gosh, y'all, it was a nightmare. The things that I learned. And that's what I'm talking about. So Dana, back to your question earlier, is like, how do you know what your podcast listeners would be interested in hearing about? Sometimes you just don't know these things until you put them out there. And whenever I launched my podcast, I wouldn't have known all of these mistakes I was making until after I made them. So I learned many things in the process. I'm kind of I don't know. I just kind of gravitate towards the trial and error, like baptism by fire, like just jumping in the deep end and seeing how it goes. I know that scares a lot of people, but yeah, I think that Podcasterskit has a great combination of a little bit of everything for everyone, not just the people that are already ready to monetize and looking to grow their audience, but people that are just starting, people that want to launch, people that want to scale. There's something for everyone in Podcasterskit. So again, go to crystalprofit.com/PK2021 to check it out. But that's all I have for y'all today. So I hope that you have a fantastic Taco Tuesday and go and grab Podcasterskit before it expires on Saturday, October 9th, because then it's gone and it won't be back until next year. So they do keep their word on that. I can tell you that. I've been here for 3 years with Podcasterskit. They do not come back in the middle of the year to start promoting again. The doors close for the sale and they don't come back around. So yes, thank y'all for hanging out with me today. This is so much fun. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Crystal. Great name, by the way. I meant to tell you that earlier. Great name. This is so much fun. Y'all have a great day. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Bye, y'all.